Hello everyone, and thank you for coming out to Politics and Perspectives. My name is Janila Johnson. I am a junior psychology and sociology major from Alameda, California, and I currently serve as a Common Cause Fellow.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Ashley King. I'm a graduating senior majoring in English and minoring in political science from Rocky Mount, North Carolina, and I previously served as an HBCU Student Action Alliance Fellow for 2 years.
And so first we are going to start out with some housekeeping rules. Some things to keep in mind, please, is no food, no drinks.
Please wear your mask at all times and remember to silence or turn off your phone.
Also, please be respectful at all times.
All right, so now we'll get started with some general introductions from our candidates. We do ask that each candidate keep their introduction under 1 minute. And we can start with Ms. Yvonne Johnson.
Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Yvonne Johnson, and I'm a Bennett Belle, and glad to be here. I'm the Mayor Pro Tem for the City of Greensboro. I have loved serving the people of Greensboro and would like to continue.
Good evening. Thanks for having us. I'm Tammy Thurm. I'm currently serving in District 5 on the Greensboro City Council.
Hello everyone, my name is Felton Fouché. I'm a District 1 candidate and I'm born and raised in Greensboro, James B. Dudley graduate. Currently at UNCG pursuing my PhD in history, and I have my master's in history from North Carolina Central University.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Hugh Holston. I'm currently a sitting city council member at large. I was appointed to my position in September of 2021 to replace Michelle Kennedy, and I'm very happy to be here.
Hello, my name is Goldie Wells, and I am seeking support to be re-elected to the City Council for District 2.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Mark Cummings. I'm an attorney here, former judge, running for mayor of the city of Greensboro, running on the One Greensboro initiative, which posits at its basis that together, working together, we can be strong and solve all of Greensboro's problems.
Oh, she got it. Okay. Thank you, Joy. Okay, appreciate it. Good evening, everyone. My name is Sharon Hightower. I am the current City Council representative for District 1, the City of Greensboro, which encompasses Southeast Greensboro, unfortunately not Bennett, but I am usually over here a lot. And so I'm running because there are some things that we have started that I'd love to see finished out to help impact those citizens that reside in the East. I think it's going to change their socioeconomic status. And so I want to be reelected to help continue that service. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Tracy Furman. I'm running for Greensboro City Council at large. I am a Greensboro native. I went to Kaiser and Grimsley. I have degrees in accounting, business management, and public policy. So I'd like to put all of that education to some good use, and I'd like to see all of Greensboro succeed. And that's one of my main reasons for running, is to make sure that not just one part of Greensboro is getting everything, that everybody in Greensboro gets everything. Okay.
Hi everyone, good evening. My name is Franca Jallo. I am your candidate for Greensboro City Council at large. As a servant leader working in nonprofit for many years now, my life work is just in public service and ensuring that the community gets what they need to survive and thrive. I'm currently a commissioner on Greensboro's Criminal Justice Advisory Commission, as well as the Police Community Review Board and the Ad Hoc Committee for Disparity Studies. I was the first elected chair, female elected chair of the International Advisory Committee. Now I'm running for Greensboro City Council at large. And I consider this my privilege to serve you, my Greensboro residents, so that together we can create the Greensboro we want to see in the future. This is not just for us, but I have 3 daughters whose life depends on decisions made by City Council, and also for all our families, so that we can have the Greensboro we want to see. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Cecily Crawford. Everyone just calls me Cece. I'm also a native of Greensboro. I was born right in Douglas Park, just a few blocks from here. I currently reside 2 blocks from here on High Street. This is my district, this is my home, this is my community. My grandparents actually taught here at Bennett, as well as an aunt. I've had family attend Bennett, as well as my mother was a child over at Bennett House. So Bennett has been a part of our family for quite some time. And the thing is that I am an alumni of North Carolina A&T State University. I'm also an alumna of UNCG. I have volunteered now for 6 years, knocking on doors, listening to people's problems here in Greensboro. And as a single mother, I know how hard it is to even have those degrees and still struggle to find a living wage and housing that I can afford, and literally in a neighborhood that my children feel safe in and have great schools. So I'm running for city council because I want to be able to affect that and make change in ways that not just my children can live and thrive in, but also you.
Good evening, my name is Eric Robert. I'm a commercial designer and community advocate. I've been in Greensboro since 1986. Went to UNCG and then on to Elon. I'm a mayoral candidate, and I'm running because I want to be, the only agenda that I would have is actually to give the government back to the people of Greensboro, and making sure that the people that are too busy working to survive, to pay attention, that I can be their voice. So in a nutshell, I want to be the voice to all the people that don't have direct access or direct connection to their municipal government.
Good evening. I'm Greensboro Mayor Nancy Vaughn, and I have been your mayor since 2013. It is my privilege to serve the citizens, the residents of Greensboro and Guilford County. We have come through some unprecedented difficult times lately. COVID, we all know what that has done to us as a community, the downturn, the recovery. Some of you here probably remember the tornado that ripped through East Greensboro. All of these issues are things that I have had an active role in. I want to continue to be your voice. We've made a lot of good strides over the last few years. We need to keep that momentum going. Thank you.
Let's give our candidates a hand.
So at this time, we will begin with our panel discussion. We have Michael in the corner who will hold a yellow paper letting you know that you have about 30 more seconds to speak. Each candidate will get about 2 minutes to speak on the question that we are asking, and your red paper will let you know that it's about time to wrap it up. And we'll get started with our first question.
All right. The first question is, what do you appreciate the most about the Greensboro community?
And we'll go from left to right.
What do I appreciate the most about the Greensboro community? One is our diversity, but also that we are a giving city. Whenever there is an issue, we can band together to tackle it. I think that is so important. When we talk to people about what do they think about when they think of Greensboro, they think about our diversity, the 122 different languages that are spoken in the Guilford County school system. The fact that we have the largest group of Montagnards throughout the entire country here. We open our doors to the people from the Ukraine and Afghanistan, and soon from unaccompanied minors at the southern border. I do think that makes us really special. The other thing that makes us really special is that we are allowed to disagree with each other in any platform. And I think that is very important, to have discussions, to meet people where they are, not to say that things are peachy and fine, but to actually listen to the dissent and make some significant changes. Thank you.
I can certainly say, but I used to appreciate a whole lot more about Greensboro before I started paying attention. And you're probably going to hear, the same thing from every candidate, but diversity is definitely to be, I'm part of that diversity. And it used to be one of the things that made us special. Up until you start paying attention and you start saying that diversity is only special, during campaign time. Then after that, God forbid, there's too many young or too many black kids during A&T homecoming. So when you realize that diversity, what it's accepted, it's only accepted during certain times and during certain hours. So I raised my family here, so I can tell you that all of the qualities, whether they are logistical or like a great place to live, and Greensboro used to be affordable. So all of these were qualities that you could actually truly appreciate, along with diversity. And you realize that we're losing all of these qualities little by little, and that's really kind of why I'm running. It's to bring that back and bring us back to basic.
So I love our history, the history of the civil rights movement here in Greensboro. We talk about diversity, but we're still fighting the same fights that we've been fighting for over a decade, over a century, excuse me. I do love how our communities do come together and support one another, whether it is the civil rights movement or for Marcus Smith, who lost his life here in Greensboro, or when we come together and trying to make sure that our communities are not gentrified. The thing I really appreciate most about Greensboro is the unity of our communities and our ability to have compassion for one another.
Yes, so I was quite intentional about making Greensboro my home. I moved here from New York City. I'm originally from Sierra Leone in West Africa. I grew up in Brunei, Southeast Asia, and I've been in America for over 21 years. Greensboro is a beautiful place to live. It has its own sets of problems. It's not perfect, but it's a place that I would appreciate in so many ways. I love the greenery. I love the 7 universities we have here in Greensboro. I love the diversity because I am a product of that, and I think diversity enriches us. It makes us that much better as a city, considering the global economy, considering the global world that we now live in. I really think that it's a place that your children can have access to the things that they need in terms of, when I talked about the universities and I talked about we have the playgrounds and parks that has a diversity, many things that people can do for all ages, for all age groups. There's a lot of activities that you can take your families to. And I also like things like the Carolina Theater, where you can watch play, something educational as well as entertaining. I think Greensboro is a beautiful place to live. I'm committed to helping to make sure that it is much more better than how I met it. Thank you.
So growing up in Greensboro, one of the things that, and then I moved away. I lived in Baltimore City for 10 years and worked in Washington. And one of the things that made me want to come home was that I wanted to raise my children here. And I wanted to raise my children here because when I grew up, what I realized is not everywhere is to learn compassion for other people that might not look like you, and for your community and your neighborhood and your entire city. And I wanted my children to experience that. And when we moved here, we moved to the Dunleith neighborhood. My kids went to Peeler Open School, which was an incredible experience. And they actually thank me for sending them there because of the way they've learned and how they have no limitations in anything that they want to do. And I think that's really amazing. So Greensboro offered that. Greensboro brought that. And I really appreciate that. And the other thing that has brought me here that makes me want to make it the best place that we can live is that I've never entered a group where I've not felt comfortable and not felt welcomed, regardless of the group. And I really appreciate that.
So thank you, and you're absolutely right. Sometimes you'll get the same answer over and over and over. But I love Greensboro's heart for people. They're very compassionate in that regard, and I think about all the way back to the sit-in movement and how that started. Because there was a heart and a concern, a compassion for the betterment of lives in the community. And so we're very intentional about that. But we also are diverse. In a city that is currently trending 52% black and brown, I look at our leadership, and I've been integral in that. We have a black city manager. We have a black city attorney. We have a black fire chief, police chief. And so we've been very intentional on making sure that leadership mirrors our demographics and our population. Can we do better? Absolutely. But we're getting started in the right direction. And I also love Greensboro's focus on education. We're in a city with 8 colleges and universities. How many other cities have that? We have law schools here. We have the #1 HBCU here. And heard even today that A&T is being allowed to add and enroll 10,000 more students. So we're bringing in more students. We're offering them the opportunities to be educated. Those are things that I love about this city. And so we just have to continue to work together. Are we perfect? Absolutely not. Name somebody you know is. But we are a work in progress. I think we are headed in the right direction. Thank you.
I talk with my hands, so it's better for me to stand up. The thing that I love most about Greensboro is you, the people. I love what George is doing over at the East White Oak Center with children. I love what Bishop Pierce and Reverend Spearman and Reverend Brown are doing with their initiatives through their church. I love what Miss Shandy and Lisa are doing over in New Garden for their older neighbors who rely on them to help go to the market. I love what Steve is doing with the kids with the Punch for Kids program. I love what the people here are able to do without the government. I love that they take it upon themselves to reach out to each other. Now it is time for the government to come and support their efforts, your efforts. You are Greensboro. When I talk about One Greensboro, it is because I am so confident that the people here can make this place great. The people here are the engine that makes Greensboro diverse, or the can-do city. I want to be mayor because I believe in harnessing all of the activities, all of the power of the people here is what will make Greensboro the greatest country in this nation.
I grew up in the eastern part of North Carolina, down in Edenton, North Carolina. And to me as a child, Greensboro was a long ways away. But the thing that I like about Greensboro is the city of opportunity, especially for African Americans. So many come from the east, come to A&T, and they become leaders for the world. I'm proud of District 2 because we have the largest HBCU in District 2. Bennett is in District 2, which is one of just the 2 female colleges for African Americans. This is a city of opportunities, especially for black people. If they want to learn, they come here, they get jobs, they leave here, they go, and we want to keep more of them here. But this is a place of opportunity. You can come to Greensboro and buy your home and raise your children. We say it's a good place to work and to play. And it is, to live, work, and play. And that sounds like it's just trite, but it's true. We have more parks in District 2. I'm going to brag a little bit about District 2. We have more parks in District 2. So it's a place where you can play. You can go to parks, you can fish, you can do your cycling. So it's a good place to live. But for African Americans, I think it's a city of opportunity, city of education, and that's the pathway to power.
Thank you, Dr. Wells. For me, there are many, many things that I like, that I love about Greensboro. The first is, and I know it's redundant, but is the diversity. And when we say diversity, oftentimes we think of race and ethnicity, but it's also diversity of thought. it's a melting pot, so to speak, of different communities coming together that don't think alike, that don't always agree with one another, but find a way to be agreeable. And that thought diversity also bleeds over into the education. I think someone mentioned that we have the 7 colleges and universities here in this community, the only MSA in the state that has the abundance of talent and passion and energy that Greensboro has. And then one of the things that I really enjoy about Greensboro is that it's not Raleigh and it's not Charlotte. If I wanted to live there, I would live there, but Greensboro is just right. You go to Charlotte, you go to Raleigh, you have all the traffic, all the trappings. I always tell folks that when you come to Greensboro and you go downtown, the main street is still 2 ways. It's not a one-way street. You have to do all kinds of things. It's just a relatively simple city. And I don't mean simple as it's plain, but it's just for the average folks that come here, that work here, go to the parks here. And I was at the Maxwell concert a couple of weeks ago, and he came in town and was on stage. And the first thing he said when he came on stage was, "I'm in Greensboro, North Carolina, the birthplace of the modern civil rights movement." And that struck a real nerve with me. It struck a chord, because someone of Maxwell's stature is going all around the world, but recognizing that when he's in Greensboro, it felt like home, the home of the civil rights movement.
Greensboro is home, for one thing. Born and raised here, love it here. Didn't want to go anywhere else, but there is a ceiling that your head can hit. With 3 hours from the mountains, 3 hours from the beach, 5 hours from Atlanta, 5 hours from DC, it's a prime location. You like going those places, but you gotta love coming home, because it's a great place to come home to. Diversity has been mentioned up here quite a bit, right? I'm a person that's much in the realm of being a fan of diversity of character. Black Americans in Greensboro, we need attention, and we need specific attention. It's nice that we have these HBCUs here. It's nice that people come, but as Councilwoman Wells said, they leave. I've been one of those people, but I'm back. I want to make this home, and I want people that come to school here to want to do the same. History tells me we should be ashamed of how we've treated some of our greatest citizens. David Richmond was one of those 4 gentlemen that sat in. Greensboro did not treat him well. We don't need to forget that. Symbolism, we got to kick that to the curb. We got to get rid of it. And we have to do things better for Black Americans in Greensboro, specifically. Not to be nativist, not to be xenophobic. There's a population in Greensboro that needs attention, and it needs it specifically. If we want them to stay, we got to make it a home for them too. Thank you.
Several people have made great points about the diversity in Greensboro, and that is one of its hallmarks. But I'd like to add to it the diversity of faith in Greensboro, because we have a wonderful faith community as well that is very accepting of other faiths, and that you don't run into in a lot of communities. You know, all you have to do is attend the Martin Luther King service. And I'm sorry, the name of the church.
St. James.
Thank you, St. James Presbyterian. Attend that church and see the various faith leaders that are all gathered together in one place, celebrating MLK and celebrating Dr. King. You know, that's huge for me as a minority faith. It's a wonderful place. Greensboro's a great place to raise a family. I had an opportunity when I was a single parent and my son was about 8 years old to move home where my family's from, which is the DC metropolitan area. I went up there, spent a day with a realtor and said, oh heck no, I'm staying in Greensboro. Greensboro's a great place to raise a family. For all those reasons that folks have already talked about, the parks, the schools, the diversity of thought, and the diversity of people. And I just think it has my heart. I want to serve again because, as I think it was Councilwoman Hightower said, we've made some great progress. I want to keep it going so that my grandchildren that live here will want to come back here when they're finished school.
I love so many things about Greensboro. Greensboro is the city of my birth. It was the city that elected me as its first African-American mayor, so I have humility and just great feelings. But I love our parks, I love our cultural arts, I love our public art. I love the fact that we are bound and determined to pay people livable wages, and we have put that into an ordinance. I love the fact that we're bringing industry into this community with training, so people can get jobs and make livable, really above livable wages. But one of the things I love about Greensboro is the spirit of volunteerism. I'll never forget that bad storm, and I live in that area. God just spared my house. But some houses were just torn up, and I rode through the community, and to see the rainbow of people who came to help and who were out lifting wood, cutting wood, helping people all over our community, really touched my heart. And I love the people of Greensboro. I think I've hugged about 75% of them, and I will continue to do that. But I love Greensboro because of it's all of the things people have said. It's education, it's diversity, and really going to a lot of the things that various ethnic groups give, and seeing how similar we are, how we really want the same thing. So I served for many years. I'd like to serve these last 4 years and get some things done. The Windsor Chavis complex is important to me. The National Science Center is important to me. That brings in the most tourists to Greensboro. So to keep those things in front of us and to make sure that we change whatever we have to change in our police departments so that people are not shot down in the street.
Thank you again for your answers. We will keep the same order with our panel. Our next question is, what kind of leader do you consider yourself as?
Starting on this
Yes.
end?
Which way?
Down there first.
This end?
Yes, ma'am.
So I am a collaborator. I know that you can't get anything done in this city unless you can count to 5. There are 9 of us on the city council, so there has to be a majority rule. I make sure that I have an open relationship with all my council members, except one who doesn't seem to want to engage. I know how important it is that when you come forward and you want something changed, that I have to be able to put the votes together, that I have to be your advocate. And I can tell you, every issue that was important to me, every issue that I drove, I got a minimum of 5 votes. I like the fact that you can come to me and say, we need these changes, and that I can make them actionable. I think that is one thing that sets me apart. I've been in this city for a long time, and not only do I have a good relationship with my council members, but I have good relationships throughout the entire city. I know that we can't do it alone, that it is important to make sure that we have businesses, nonprofits, religious institutions, all on the same page on what we can do to make this city better. And I know that I've got that track record, and I know that I have those relationships.
I tell you what kind of leader I'm not going to be, and I'm not, is like what you just heard. And the reason being, it's because I'm sitting here and everybody's telling you what they love about Greensboro, and it's so nice and well, but it's only, if you have the disposable income, if you have the time, if you're not afraid to get shot in the butt, if you're not afraid that you're going to get evicted because you're too old and somebody decide that they're going to triple your rent. And I understand I can count to 5 also, but it's there's a lot of great things about Greensboro, but there's also a lot of things that need to change. And before everybody is only too happy, sending themselves flowers, I think that there's a whole lot of work to do. And I'm here to do the work. I'm not here, to be a hypocrite. I'm not here to tell you things that you want to hear, because as we speak, there's 15 senior citizens that are being evicted because their rent was the only triple. by one of our leaders' best friend. And I think that's unacceptable. We still hogtied people up until last year. That's not okay. And when that happened, we should have an investigation immediately. And when that happened, the citizens have a right to see that footage immediately. And if it's a matter that we're going to hide behind the state, then let's lobby the state and let's make sure that we change all that. So the leader that I am, that I want to be, once I get elected, is actually I want to be your leader. I want to make sure that you know exactly what is, so we know exactly what to change.
So I don't know if any of you know who Jane McAlevey is. She is a union organizer, one of the best in the United States and called around the world to help organize workers. I thought I knew what a leader actually was, someone who takes charge, tells everybody what to do, but that is actually not what a leader does. A leader is someone who reaches into their given community with their workers, with their neighborhood associations, with their churches, with other workers. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hit you. And actually collaborates. It's someone who listens to the people that surround them, but also the people who are in their communities that are not exactly within their bubble. It's someone who actually notices what people's strengths are and helps to build those strengths so that they can strengthen a larger community. A leader is actually someone who facilitates everyone's best specialties into a group that works best for all. And so when I hear people now, I will, it's not I will, it's we will. We in District 2 will work together. That's what a leader does. They actually help others learn what their specialties are, how great they are, what they can do, and then we work together to bring those things to City Council. So even as a City Council person, you are taking the pain points, the stories, you're taking what your community is telling you they want, not what you want to do. So that's the kind of leader I hope to be.
So I have always been a woman who is not afraid to advocate for the marginalized communities and those who are unable to speak for themselves. I tend to lead with love and intention. I'm one who is about uniting a community. I'm a connector of different diverse backgrounds. And I'm also one who likes working together with people, a diverse group of people from all walks of life. I think that I tend to try to bring our youth, our younger generation, into leadership, training them towards being future leaders. I think that's very important to do. I think that the wisdom our older generation has should definitely not die with them. It should be something that we can pass on. I believe in, I'm one who believes in being innovative and also futuristic. Because whatever it is we're planning to do has to do with not just for today, but for tomorrow and for future generations to come. I'm one who believes in just making sure that everyone around me is being taken care of. I facilitate a lot of collaboration and connection necessary to help lead our citizens forward. I am so honored, and it will be my privilege to help lead you as your candidate for Greensboro City Council at large. Thank you.
Hi, so collaboration's been said a few times, and I fully believe it from everyone who said it. I'm definitely a collaborator. I definitely like to work with lots of people, but let me just tell you a brief story. When I lived in Baltimore, I helped start the community organization, the Community Neighborhood Association, because our neighborhood was about 200 years old, but had never had any real representation on the city council in Baltimore. And so I helped get that organized. I was not in charge of it, but I did what I could do to get people involved. I had to convince people who had lived there 50 years and people who had lived there 5 minutes to get themselves involved, because our neighborhood was going through a lot of changes, and we needed to be able to have one voice to make the decisions that we ask for things from the city. So that was one of the things I did. About 5 years ago, I went to visit and stayed with my old neighbor. And when I drove up our street, all of a sudden it was one way, which it wasn't before, and it had this angled parking, which we used to have normal parallel street parking. And I said to my friend, Diana, when did this happen? She goes, you know, Tracy, if you had lived here, I would have known this was going to happen because you told me everything. But I didn't know. I just came home one day from work and it was there. So I take that as a compliment, and I hope to continue to work in that sort of capacity, and informing people, being transparent, and working with all kinds of groups all over Greensboro to make it great.
So that word leader is an interesting word, because everybody in our community is a leader. So that means no matter if you're leading a neighborhood meeting, or you're leading a food drive, or you're leading an Easter egg hunt that's happening this weekend, you are leading in lots of ways and setting standards for all the community to be. I'm just a community advocate in the room, you know, but the leadership comes from the body of the community and the direction that they want me to go in. They're empowered to do so. I'm only there to help advocate for what they believe in, because 9 times out of 10 what they believe in, I believe in too. Most of the time it's 100% of the time. So I think that as a so-called leader, you have to learn to listen, and you have to learn to help empower people with where they want to go. It's not about going in a room and telling them what they want, but it's about going in that space and sitting down and listening and hearing those concerns and how they want to move forward. It's all about them, because it's all of us together, but they are the ones that are taking the initiative to say, hey, this is wrong. We don't like this. Sometimes I oppose rezonings. You know why? Because developers don't talk to these communities. They know how they want to live. They know what they want to encounter. It is their neighborhood. And you have to respect that. So as that advocate, that is what I often do many times in the room, is respect people's opinions, thoughts, and actions, words and deeds.
The type of leader that I am is a servant leader. I serve you. I'm the type of leader that you can call at 3 o'clock in the morning, and not only will I answer that call, but I will get to work immediately. I'm the type of leader who will make sure that a mother who is being threatened with losing her kids has representation in court. I'm the type of leader that'll show up when no one else will. I'm the type of leader that doesn't look at what we can't do, but all the things that we will do. I'm the type of leader that doesn't just stop with the question of why. I go with why not. I'm the type of leader that gets things done, the can do, that will never say to you, there's nothing we can't do. I'll say, there's nothing we won't do. I'm the type of leader that makes sure every day we are in this thing together, building a better Greensboro for everybody. I am the type of leader who looks around and determines how can we get everybody involved, because it does not only take a village, but it takes engagement. It takes understanding and knowledge. It takes information. I'm the type of leader that won't let you get just misinformation. I'm the type of leader who wants an engaged citizenry, who will not accept everything that they are told at face value. I'm the type of leader that forces people to think, to want, to earn, to work hard. I'm the type of leader that when everything else, when everybody else says we can't, I give you the hope that we just begin. That's why I'm asking you to join me. I'm not running for a title. I'm running for us. It is time that we start working together to solve these problems. I'm tired of hearing about the potential of Greensboro. When is Greensboro going to realize that potential? The buck stops with me. As your mayor, I will ensure that whenever a decision is made, it is because the city decided this is the way we're going to go. Thank you.
I think the question was, what kind of leader are you? What kind of leader do you think you are? There's always a constant debate about whether leaders are born or where the leaders can be trained to be leaders. It's my belief that a leader is born with certain leadership skills, and then those skills are honed to become a better leader. I consider myself an effective leader, a proven leader. I have organized, and we talked about it, and I think Cecilia gave a real good explanation of what a leader, the qualifications of a leader. When there is an issue, when the people have an issue, you have to be able to get them together and to come to lead them into making decisions that will affect the whole group. My proven leadership comes with organizing and leading for 8 years the concerned citizens of Northeast Greensboro, organizing and leading the Citizens for Economic and Environmental Justice when the White Street landfill was about to be reopened. My leadership in organizing the East Greensboro Coalition when the White Street landfill was about to be reopened, and they were talking about it. They had to have a place for the transfer station. So I worked with the people in the lower part of East Greensboro, and they didn't want me there, but they said we came together and we organized that group. We've been working together, and that's the thing about leadership. You have to see results. If nobody's following you, you're just taking a walk. Many people have followed me, and they continue to have faith in me, and I hope you'll have faith in me, because there are things that we've started as this council that we've made strides. I'm the kind of leader that works with the group, with negotiating, compromising, and coming to a good decision.
What kind of leader am I? It begins with, I'm a believer. I'm a believer in people. The city of Greensboro really isn't a body. It's a legal entity, but it's not really a body. We are made up of the people who are within. And I believe that people really want to do the best thing. And if not, then they'll work, and we'll work together to find another belief or to amend or adjust that belief. But it's never an ending of believing in people. I'm a listener. I love to listen to, especially, the contrary point of view. The people who agree with you, they agree with you. But the people who don't agree with you, I've learned in my life, you learn so much more. Just like you learn so much more from adversity, you learn so much more by closing your mouth and listening. You ask somebody a question, let them answer the question, let them give their true feelings. And from there, you'll learn so much more. And then I'm an engager. I really and truly believe that the citizens of Greensboro need to engage more. First, voting. In the last municipal primary in 2017, I believe it was, 9% of the voters chose the primary winners and 14% of the voters chose the general. So 91% of people didn't engage in the primary, and 84% of the electorate didn't engage for the general, which is very sad. But we need more and more people to vote and also to get engaged with the decisions that are being made by the city. We at City Council don't make all of the decisions. We make a lot of them, but not all of them. There are boards and commissions that are starving for talent, are starving for people to come and raise their hand and say yes or no, as opposed to after the fact someone saying, why did they do this or why did they do that? So I'm a believer, I'm a listener, and I'm an engager.
So leadership, now I think these days you can get certificates and points of education in regards to being some type of leader. There's one word that comes to mind, and it was said once that I recall, and that's effective. To be an effective leader, you do have to be a listener and all the other things that you heard, but you have to be a good communicator. You have to be patient. I've been through leadership trainings from the Hayes Taylor YMCA. I've taught leadership to teens and youth through the Achievers program at the Hayes Taylor Y. I work currently on racial equity. All of it is indicative of leadership. But again, to be an effective leader, you have to listen. My 2 campaign slogans was from here, for here, and your candidate, your voice. If I'm placed in a position of leadership in terms of District 1, I'm taking you with me. All of it, not parts here and pieces there, but everything that's concerning my district. I think that's what a leader does. But they communicate it in a way that change is prompted. They communicate it to the people that they're talking to in that city council in a way that they understand what's important to the community that they purport to represent. That's what leaders do. And that's what I think a leader should do.
In terms of what kind of leader am I? I'm a leader that people call on the phone. I'm a leader that shows up in the neighborhood. I'm a leader that is on a first name basis with constituents, where I'll go and sit down in somebody's dining room and I'll bring a whole group of people from the city to talk about and talk through a problem rather than just passing it off. I'm an involved leader. I am not a leader that knows everything. I am more than happy, however, to listen to constituents, to hear what they have to say. If it makes sense to me, keep moving on, do my own research, see what else is out there, and learn from those people. That's what I did with written consent. That was not something that I brought to council initially. It wasn't my idea, but it was my constituents' idea. And after I heard from them and discussed it with them and read some articles and talked to a number of people, decided that yes, I would step up to work on that. Unfortunately, it didn't pass, so okay, maybe you could say I wasn't an effective leader. But I'll work for it, and if it's right, I'll fight for it as long as and as hard as I can. And that's the kind of leader that I am. I'm also the kind of leader that spent a day in the water department, that's going to be riding a trash truck with one of our trash truck drivers, that's going to be working in the sewers for a day this month with our sewer staff. I'm a type of leader that wants to understand and know the challenges from everyone's perspective so that we can eventually come up with great results and great outcomes and have everyone feel heard.
I'm a leader who believes service is the rent we pay for living on this earth. So I'm a servant leader. I'm a collaborator. I'm a leader who uses my gifts and talents God gave me wherever I am called to serve in this city. And I have done that for 20-some years. I'm a leader whose heart is firmly rooted in justice and equality. I'm a leader who believes in the power of prayer. And I'm a leader who will fight to make sure there's a level playing field for every citizen in Greensboro. I'm a leader who just loves people and loves the challenge of helping people see what they want to see and receive what they need to receive.
Thank you for your answers. We would like to acknowledge Bennett College for hosting this tonight. Thank you. And as we speak of Bennett College, the next question is, how do colleges and universities in the Greensboro community fit into your campaign and service if you are to be elected? And we're going to start with Ms. Yvonne Johnson.
Well, all of these wonderful colleges and universities do fit into what we do as city council people. There may be a time when, for example, Bennett College may want to add some buildings and they need infrastructure work. We can certainly help with that. There are times when there are people that come to Bennett, and I've been here many times when they did, that are dignitaries where you want someone from the city to come and welcome them and perhaps bring the key to the city. It could be any college or university. So there are a number of things we are concerned about with our colleges and universities, because they are some of our crown jewels in the city of Greensboro. And we want to do all we can to encourage the young people who are in our colleges and universities to consider staying in Greensboro and working in Greensboro and building their families in Greensboro. So those are some of the things.
You know, whether it be Bennett or A&T or UNCG or Guilford or Greensboro College or any of the others in Greensboro, there is so much richness here. You know, we couldn't attract the jobs and the businesses that we have here if it weren't for the colleges and the universities that are here and that partnership for training programs and the like. I think we have an opportunity that we haven't taken advantage of, quite frankly, and that we need to do better at. And that's engaging with the students and the staff and faculty at the universities, whether that be for consulting projects or engineering projects or things of that nature, where the city in the past has actually purchased the services of outside companies. And I think there's an opportunity for us to work with our universities and our students to engage them to do some of that consultation, some of the studies that we need done. We haven't done that as much as I think we probably should have, and it's something that I'm committed to looking at as we go forward. Greensboro would not be Greensboro without our university, colleges and universities. They're what makes our community, and they are the next generation of Greensboro's leaders. Like to see us engage our student leaders even more on boards and commissions as we go forward.
Retention of talent is something that came up earlier, and I think that's critically important. It's just been mentioned again. We also have to take into account that universities are procuring a lot of land. They're growing, expanding. I worked at the Haysdale YMCA at both buildings. I endured that move to the new building. It was kind of daunting. But now there's a new, big, beautiful space there intended for the students. I think we have to blur that line some. We have to encourage these universities to do things that include the communities that they're affecting, that they're growing into. UNCG, I work there right now as a history instructor. I attended there to get my PhD. They're expanding. Glenwood's blowing up. They're building nice, spacious buildings. We can't displace the community members that live there now. We have to include them in that growth. But primarily, I agree with what was just said previously. We have a lot of good people that come through those universities and end up elsewhere. Why not help them make Greensboro home? Why not include them in our local government? Why not get some of those fresh ideas? I don't see why that doesn't make sense. So I'm encouraging you guys, students, to figure it out here if you can, and just hang around. It's a good place to be.
The colleges and universities in the Greensboro community are an integral part of the future vision for Greensboro. These colleges are providing skills and education and knowledge to the students, and especially when those colleges and universities are providing high-tech research. Because what's happening is that all that knowledge and talent is being leveraged or being seen across the nation. And you have organizations and companies like Toyota, Battery, Lithium. You have Boom Supersonic. And they've already formed partnerships with NCA&T and I believe also UNCG. And so they see what's happening, and this is going to be a kind of a cycle here. So the colleges and universities provide those curriculums. The students are attracted because they see the value of those curriculums. The employers across the nation, across the world, see that combination, and they come. and they place themselves here. Then around those businesses, other ancillary businesses begin to grow. And then what happens? We've talked a lot about we need to find a way to keep our college graduates. We truly have a problem with the brain drain after graduation. But what happens if we've built such a wonderful ecosystem, so to speak, that the students the graduates aren't looking to leave, they're trying to find a way to stay. And when they start staying, then other students will then come to the school, other business will come in, and the cycle just continues. The colleges and universities play an integral role, and I'm very proud to be able to say that I've had an opportunity to engage with some of the students and share some of the very same things, whether it's the Black Girls Vote over at A&T, or whether it's Professor Roberts' Intro to Social Justice. And we have this conversation, and the passion and the desires there, we just have to simply follow through on it. And what's been happening in the last 4 months, us bringing in some 5,000 to 8,000 jobs, an annual payroll impact of over $280 million, that's going to feed on top of itself, and we're going to find ourselves with a true economic boom, and the students will be clamoring to stay.
One of the things that over the last 4 years, a lot of things have changed, but one of the focuses, my focus for District 2 has not changed. One of the main focuses is to eradicate the food desert. We have been working with, and we continue to work with the Agricultural Research Department at A&T. On Phillips Avenue, there are 2 high tunnels that were given to us. There was a $250,000 grant that Concerned Citizens worked with A&T, and we have those high tunnels where food is grown. So if we, and that's one of Councilwoman Johnson has been saying to us all the time, we need to use the college students. When we have research to be done, we can have internships, and when we have groups like Bennett has always been the Bell's vote, Bennett Bell's vote. And so to get them involved in what's going on with the city at these universities, and then hear their voice. When I was on council before, I formed an alliance of college. There was a board with all college students on it, a representative from each one of the colleges. And that way we could hear the concerns of the college students. And we want to bring that back again so that they can have their voice heard. We realize that these are intelligent men and women who come to us as teenagers and leave as adults, but they have a lot that they can help us with here before they leave.
Before I answer that question, because this is a very important question, let me first say thank you to Ms. Thurm. I want to thank you for bringing written consent to the council. I want to tell you that you are an effective leader. It is not you that failed the city. It is those other 5 people who could not vote for written consent that failed the city.
I voted for written consent.
And if you
I didn't. And I'm bold enough to say so, and I'll tell you why. You're gonna throw me out.
As I was saying, if I am elected mayor, I will make sure that written consent would pass this esteemed board. When it comes to the issue of the intellectual capital that leaves here every graduation, I've said that that is one of the most morally reprehensible things that happens here. It should not be the case that having all that talent, they leave. But the reason that they leave is they don't feel that they have a stake here in Greensboro. The One Greensboro initiative will change that. First, we're going to institute a program that's called Learn Here, Earn Here. What that does is, if you're a student that graduated from any of the colleges and universities here in this county, and you do a startup here in this county, then the city is going to help you find financial resources and other capital to get your startup off of the ground. We believe that that is the way, the innovative way, that you keep some of those scholars here that will change Greensboro. let's make it a priority to invest in that intellectual capital, those 4 or 5 or 6 years of education that these individuals have. I'll make that promise to you. You make me mayor, we will keep those individuals here, and we will make Greensboro the city that is reflective of the great diversity at these universities.
At this time, we would like to remind you all to remain respectful and for the audience to please have your phone on silent.
So let me say this. First and foremost, no, I didn't support written consent. You know why? Because black people still getting stopped by the police. It wasn't going to stop black people at these colleges and universities from getting stopped by the police. But what we implemented was to make sure that not only was there written consent policy along with a body-worn camera video footage so you could be seen saying, no, I do not want to be searched. That's how we're going to help keep our colleges and university students safe. The majority of these college students are black, and we need to make sure we protect that. And so to that end, we need to make sure you're being hired, okay? These companies come and are great, and they use universities to say, this is why we came. The talent is why we came. But how many of them are on your campuses offering you a job? That's the difference. So they're not walking the walk, they're talking the talk, and it sounds good. As a mother of a daughter who's on her way to Arizona, I understand why they don't stay, because it's not welcome here. So she has a master's, but she's on her way out. So we have to make sure that the money that your parents have spent benefits you for your future. We can do hiring fairs on your campuses, these companies that come, so that you have that opportunity right there. We need to come to you and stop expecting you to go to them. Those are the things that we need to do and ensure that we create a pipeline from college to employment so that you can pay that student loan debt. Because 9 of you out of 10 probably have so much debt you can't even get a car credit. That's what we need to impact, the economics of our students, to make sure these companies that do come are hiring you all and using your talent. Thank you.
That's hard to follow. So one of the things, I'm a mom of 3 college students right now, so I'm very aware of what is going on college campuses, because of course they're on 3 different college campuses. One of the things I think that is challenging here is while you're a student, we need to make it a little bit easier to be a student in Greensboro. And one of those things is having really good public transportation. In Richmond, my daughter can take a bus anywhere in Richmond. So she can go to work, she can come home, she can go out with her friends, she can do all these things with her student pass. So that's something that probably would not cost an enormous amount of money for us to do, but it's something really simple and would make your lives a whole lot easier. On top of that, I also work in the entrepreneurial world. I'm the executive director for Triad Local First, and we support independently locally owned businesses. And we need more of them, a lot more of them. And I know that our colleges are where we're going to find them. So I would like to encourage entrepreneurship, startups, building these small businesses, and maybe they become big, who knows? I know they can, especially because I know that the energy that comes behind a college student is like no other. So now is the time for you guys to start your businesses if that's what you want to do. And I want to help you do that. And I think our city should do that. Lastly, and Councilwoman Thurm alluded to this, but I think that there should be a position on every single board and commission that is held open for a college student. I'm not quite sure how that would work, but I know that we can figure it out. Because I think having a younger voice on every single commission would be very important. Thank you.
So first of all, I just wanted to say I'm one of the commissioners who reviewed the policy on written consent, who made a recommendation to City Council. We did that to keep our Black and Brown community members safe. And the reason why we asked for written consent and also to be able to have access to the body-worn camera to be reviewed is because we know that in writing, you cannot dispute that someone did not consent to be searched. That's a first step of keeping our Black and brown community safe. And I was one of those who reviewed that policy and made that recommendation to City Council, which did not pass. And that shows the power of City Council, what they have versus what a commissioner, a city commissioner does. We can make recommendations, but ultimately we do not have the power to make that pass. In addition, I am a child of educators. My father is a professor, my mom worked at the university, and so I know the value of education for our children, for you guys, you young adults who are entering into the workforce. I also know that right now, people are getting into the workforce and you don't make livable wages that reflect the times we now live in. Inflation is happening. The standard of living is just getting higher and higher. Rent is increasing, gas is increasing. My Piedmont gas bill is so high, my electric bill, Duke Energy is so high, but yet still my wages are not increasing. It's time for us to look into making sure that our salaries reflect the bills and everything else we have that's going on for us right now in our communities. I also believe in retaining the students that graduate from our 7 universities here in Greensboro. And the way to do that is to give them enough opportunities, economic opportunities, jobs, and to also encourage them with more than just professional fields, but skilled work as well. We need to normalize skilled workers. We need to normalize people working in electrician jobs or other kinds of jobs that reflect the skills and things that they enjoy. I really believe that, I see we're out of time, but I support our school systems, our universities, and as a city council member, I'll continue to work in collaboration with those entities to develop our cities. Thank you.
So I think a lot has been said here about putting you all to work, making sure that you have opportunities to jobs and small business. And like Franca said, I want to make sure that you are not taken advantage of. I want to make sure that you are coming out to a city that welcomes you with housing that you can afford with your beginning jobs. How many of you have student loan debt currently? Yeah. So the thing is if your rent is high, if your wages, even a great salary starting off and your rent is high and you still have a $400 or $500 student loan bill every month, there's a lot that you can't afford that you need to be able to get to and from your wonderful new job. So we definitely need to make sure that there is housing for every salary. And I've heard a lot about, small businesses, but how many of you will be our teachers? How many of you will also be college professors, still going back to work, going back to school after you finish your bachelor's? These are all things that will keep adding up while you are trying to live when you come out. Yes, we have corporations coming to Greensboro, but they say it's an average of this much money. The salary is an average of this much. But how much is it that you're going to get when you start? And let's say $2,500, right? Does that sound decent every 2 weeks or so? That's about $5,000 a month. That sounds great, right? Until they take out your health insurance, until they take out your 401k, which I advise you to do early on so you have something to live on, so you're not like the people that I've talked to that are now eating cat food in their elderly years. So once you take out that 401k, once you take out your rent, a 1-bedroom is $1,000 or above. When you take out your food, like Franca said, is going up, what are you going to eat? Because if you make too much money, you will not be able to get any kind of social welfare here in Greensboro. That's no food stamps, that's no help with your rent, that's no help with your utilities. So quickly, that $5,000 that sounded really good when you came out of school is not stretching so far. My job is to try and make sure that there is housing stock out here so that you can find houses that homes to rent or live in that you can afford, so that you have the wages to be able to pay all of your bills and live a happy life, so you're not just surviving, you're actually thriving here in Greensboro, and that the rest of the students that see you want to come and stay here too when they graduate.
Most cities actually have an interesting relationship between the city government itself and universities, and here we actually happen to have 6 of them. And I agree with Mr. Fouché that the colleges and universities themselves need to do a better job to actually consider the community in their overall plan as they plan on expanding and as they plan on offering new program. As far as the students, we got 50,000 students. There's 50,000 of you, and I would say go and explore as much as you want. It's a big world, and it's a big cool world, and there's a whole lot of great places to explore. I can only hope that you'll come back and bring in some of the experience that you had with you. It's tough to you hear a lot of things about how everybody wants you involved, but people seem to forget that the internet exists and you're actually aware of what the city does, to college students. I mean, we have, I still remember the time, when we had noise ordinance because you guys were too loud. We still can have, certain lines outside of certain places because, it makes some other people feel uncomfortable. So the one great idea that I've actually heard tonight, which I think is brilliant, is to include you in not just commission and board, but I would push it further and said not just one, but as many as we can in every single nonprofit, and make sure that you actually listen to, and you're not just there as a token. You're not just there, so they can say, oh, we've asked the student population. You got to make sure that you're there. You got to make sure that you speak up, and you got to make sure that you listen to, because only then can we actually be better, and only then can we really make sure that your needs are actually addressed.
So what can we do to keep college students here? We've got a bunch of different programs that we reach out to the different colleges and universities. One is Campus Greensboro, where you can apply for a high-touch internship job through the summer. It's not making coffee and getting copies for somebody, but it's actually working on projects, giving people a resume builder. And part of that is 1 week with the Center for Creative Leadership, which helps with soft skills, which are so important as people are graduating from college. In addition to that, the police chief has a 500 jobs initiative, which also serves people from 14 to 24. We are opening up an employment center specifically for next gen, looking for people in your age range. How can we connect you better with the employers of today and the employers of tomorrow? I agree that we have to do better on raising wages, and these new jobs will do that. We just want to make sure that you're going to fill them. We don't want them bringing people from other communities. So part of the jobs incentive would be that there would be specialized training for people right here in our community so that they would qualify for these jobs. Affordable housing was mentioned. We're going to have an affordable housing bond on our July referendum, and I really hope that you come out and vote for it. Our last referendum, we had something called 100 houses, and that was $10,000 down payment assistance to help get people into houses for the first time. We did over 900 houses. That top was 10,000. We're looking at raising it to about 15,000. So we can focus on people like our teachers, like city workers, like public safety, like people who aren't making a fortune but deserve to have a good living because they live and work here in the city. And I see my time is up. Thank you.
Thank you again for your answers. One of the topics mentioned in your answers was safety, which leads to our next question of what does the word safe mean to you? And how do you envision ensuring that those in the Black community feel safe? And we'll start with Ms. Johnson.
What safe means to me is not being anxious and really being able to relax where I am. One of the things that I have been investigating with our police chief are 2 things: are cameras up on telegram poles and better lighting, because we know that brighter lighting deters crime, and cameras will catch, if there is a crime, it will catch pictures or the license plates of cars. So those are some of the things I've been working on in communities that have high crime. But feeling safe means feeling good.
Feeling safe to me is a matter of not worrying at night when you go to take the trash out that you can't go out after dark. Being safe is feeling like if your kids can play in the yard without fear of what's going to happen to them or who is going to get them or something of that nature. Feeling safe is not worrying about human trafficking our young daughters and our young children. All of that is a matter of feeling safe. And feeling safe takes all of us. I think it's community working together with our police department, with our faith community. We can't police our way out of the problems that we're having right now. It's going to take all of us working together and partnering together to move our city forward and to address this curse that we have of violence in our community. It also means investing in lots of alternatives. There's no one solution to the challenges we have to our safety. Whether it be the Cure Violence program, which I was behind from the beginning when we went to Raleigh to see their program, or the 500 Jobs program, working with our communities with some amazing small nonprofits that have sprung up. We've got to support one another. The city has got to support those that are working to address this, and we've got to cooperate and work together. And I think that's the best solution.
So safety means to me, being able to walk in my neighborhood at any hour that I please and feel just as comfortable as I would inside the house. I've been endorsed by the Greensboro Police Officers Association, and coming from where I come from, that surprised some of my friends. I was born and raised on the southeast side of Greensboro. I hung in all of the places that we visited when I took that ride along with the GPD. And I was disappointed that I was still seeing the places that I already knew had been problematic for quite a while in terms of crime and safety. But I know why. Economic disparity is a part of this conversation, and we can't act like it's not. We have to invest in communities that don't have resources on hand, that don't have the means and the ways. And we have to do it without any requirement of repayment, without any expectations of some wonderful transformation that takes place. No, you just do it because it's the right thing to do. That's how we make our places safe. That's how we make one side of Greensboro just as safe as the other. Over-policing's got to stop. I've had conversations with the Greensboro Police Department about that. This is about communication, people. We have to have people in places that want to talk to the police officers, because they want to talk to us. They're community members just like we are. Just like we are. It's a mutual exchange, and I'm here for that. I've worked at the Hayes Taylor YMCA. I've worked mentoring youth. Everything comes down to opportunity, and you can't have opportunity if the economics are skewed on one side of town. We have to address it from an economic standpoint. I stand on that.
And Felton said that being safe, if you don't mind, being safe is being able to walk in his neighborhood. I say it's also being able to walk in your neighborhood, not just your own, anywhere in Greensboro, whether it's downtown, whether it's in your neighborhood, whether it's at Friendly, whether it's at Four Seasons, the Natural Science Center. It really should not matter. Safety is simply safety. It doesn't have color, it doesn't have race, shouldn't have color, shouldn't have race. I know that we've historically especially in the African American communities, that there have been some issues, tension, incidents that have gone on that have driven a lack of faith in the police department as a whole. It may be the bad apples and not the whole. What I want to see is some racial equity training for all of our public safety officers who can come in contact with all of us, so that when we have an interaction, it's a respectful interaction. It's one where there's not a question of what happened or how it happened, but it's respectful. As with any job, there are always some bad apples. They need to be rooted out and run out. The others, we just will continue to grow and learn. And when we have that, we'll be safer.
To be safe, to me, is being comfortable, all of the things that my fellow people have said. Being safe and feeling that you can walk out or you could be in your house and not hear gunshots, and know that you could walk out of your door and everything is going to be calm. Now, I know we talk about policing, but I think community policing is what we need. We should have a full force, but then the police should be able to communicate with people in their community so that they're not our enemies, and they never have been, but the police could be our friend, and that the community would consider the police their friend instead of their enemy. I believe the bottom line really goes to our economic status. When you don't have money, you think about it. When you can't buy your food, you can't pay your rent, you don't have money for any entertainment, it's miserable, and you're discontent. And then there are some people who say, well, I'm going to have money, and they get it in the wrong way. And I think that leads to the crime in our community. So what we can do, as we give incentives to companies to come in, to give wages, the right wages, above $15, and that they would hire MWBEs, then that would alleviate some of the poverty that we have and some of the inequities we have when it comes to money. And that affects also the health. And when you're safe, you ought to feel healthy also. And that gap from East Greensboro to West Greensboro, 10 years life expectancy is less in East Greensboro than West. We've got to do something, and what we can do on council is to vet those companies that come in and ensure that they give us the wages for our people that they need.
I have a little anecdote about the first time I felt safe, and Madam Johnson, you'll appreciate this because it involves you. I went to Dudley High School, and at the academy at Dudley, we used to be secluded in our own part of the main building. And Mayor Pro Tem's sister worked there, Ms. Peglow. And Ms. Peglow, in her room, you could always see Mayor Pro Tem Johnson's signs. And I remember asking Ms. Peglow about, well, who is that? And when she told me about her, it was the first time that I knew a black person was involved in city government. And I felt safe because I thought one of me was down there making sure that we were able to get the things we needed. And that's what I believe our whole community is looking for. Our community can feel safe when it knows that there are people working on their behalf to keep them safe. I don't subscribe to the belief that we should defund the police, but I also do not subscribe to the belief that we need to keep having to have the talk. Who knows what the talk is? I am tired of having to have that, where black mothers and fathers have to talk to their black sons especially, and now their black daughters, about how to engage cops when they haven't done anything wrong, but to make sure that they come home safely at night. I subscribe to the belief that those two things do not have to be mutually exclusive. We can have good police and still do away with having to have the talk. And if you elect me mayor, the One Greensboro initiative is going to do that. How? We're going to build a stronger relationship between community activists, and I can see a couple of community activists here who know their neighborhoods better than anyone else. They need to have the direct relationship with someone in the police department because they will have already the trust of those in the community.
So the one word that Mark just said is trust. And our community does not trust the police. And that's a sad fact, but it's true. They've seen too many negative interactions, whether it's publicly or locally, where things have not turned out well, particularly in our community. And I think we have to establish a better community policing model where the police come in and stop treating us like we're the enemy and that we're at war, but that we are all there because we just simply want to live. We also have to make people feel safe in their community by investing in their community. That's intentional investment. That there are neighborhoods right now that don't have sidewalks, so you can't walk safe in your neighborhood. You're in the street. You have to make sure those things are there, those investments are there. And then people do have to make a living wage. We have to ensure, while we can't control the private sector, that we set the model for when companies come in here and want our money for their business as incentives. We say to them, you will respect our citizens by paying them a living wage. And we have set that standard by already implementing that $15 is the least we will accept for any job. Yes, they say average wage job may be 60, but when you ask them to break it down, 9 times out of 10, it's a management position that pays 75 and everybody else makes 20. Well, people can't live off that. So I don't support that. And we've implemented that in our incentive policy. It sets the standard to say to companies, you're coming in here to respect our citizens by first bringing a good paid job with benefits. That's number one. And ensuring that the city can then invest in those communities along with that business. We also have to have the transit conversation. And our transit drivers, I will tell you, are trained to look out for sex traffickers. So when you ride our city bus, those drivers are trained to know if there's something. If you see something on that bus and you say something to that driver, he knows how to respond. So that's putting you in safe environments. We have to consider all of those things. They may seem small, but they all add up to creating a safe environment, a safe community that you want to come home to and don't want to wake up in the morning to some news story that says somebody's been shot in their community. More lighting in the neighborhood. Yeah, absolutely. We've got to do that. And we at the city have to begin to put our money where our mouth is to support this community. Thank you.
So I have two versions of safety. One is dealing with a crime, and what are we going to do to make our neighborhood safer? And you're right, all of you, that economics is a major factor in it, and we need to address that. But the other part of safety that I feel is being able to trust. And being able to trust the people who are coming to help you stay safe and be safe. You know, I look like a white soccer mom. I never was, but that's what I look like, and I know that. And I grew up in an environment where the police were good. They came when you needed them. They helped you. And it wasn't until about 10 years ago I realized that there are entire neighborhoods that generationally have never been able to trust the police. And that was a big eye-opener for me, and it led me down a pretty interesting path learning about why that is. We have to do better. And some of it is that we depend on the police to do things that historically they haven't done. I'm glad to say we have the mental health response team. It needs to be bigger. We need more people on it. We have the homeless response team. That's only a few police officers, so we definitely need to expand that. But I absolutely want to work as on city council to make this police an organization that you can call and you know that you're going to be helped and it's going to have a good turnout and that everybody feels that way all over Greensboro. Thank you.
So the word safe means feeling protected, not exposed to danger or at risk of being harmed, hurt or lost. And that means in your homes, in your community, and in this city. We all have a responsibility to keep our community safe. The police officers are there to be reactive, not proactive. So we in our homes, and the parents, and the teachers, and everyone, the community watch folks, need to ensure that we are all kept safe so that we don't feel in danger continuing forward. Written consent was meant to help keep us safe as well. We cannot address public safety without addressing its root cause, many of which are economic in nature. The only way that we can feel safe and not have to fight for survival or take something that's not ours is if we have the economic opportunity in place, the economic growth in place, so that we're not there trying to survive on the streets. And that's what many of our families are doing. So we need to ensure there's equitable access to the economic opportunities needed for all our community members to feel safe, to feel that they have everything they need. Maybe not holistically, but the basic needs, which are clothing, shelter, food, and access to healthcare, and so on and so forth. We need to ensure that every family in Greensboro has those basic needs met, and that would ensure some level of safety in our city. I believe that a city that cares for its citizens cannot do so by criminalizing us, particularly the homeless and those battling mental health challenges and addiction. We all need to feel safe in our homes. And in addition, as elected officials, I think it's the duty of the elected officials, along with the police, to ensure that everyone feels that level of safety. And whether it's systematic or otherwise, we need to change these systems for the better. We need to change things from generations ago and now in this present day that are making all of us in fear of not living a free and productive lifestyle. That to me is what means safety. Thank you.
So I think we've heard multiple definitions of what safe are, so we can all agree on those definitions. And for me, I live 2 blocks down the street, so I'm in the community that doesn't always trust the police. One of the things that I appreciate Chief James doing is to have the behavioral health response team. However, I think we ask our police department to do too much and things that they shouldn't have to do. I think that we should have a medic and a trained mental health professional outside of the police purview that actually respond to mental health crises, addiction crises, and conflict resolution. This would be a separate number that you would call, and this would be in conjunction with the city, the county, and most likely with Moses Cone. The pilot program is in Eugene, Oregon. It's called CAHOOTS, Crisis Assistance Helping Out on the Streets. And they have been doing this for quite some time, and out of 24,000 calls that they received for these types of issues, they only had to get backup from the police 150 times. You can look it up. I promise you, this is something that we can do here in Greensboro to help our police department be able to address violent and property crimes and not criminalize mental health, addiction, and conflict resolution that usually falls on the shoulders of the Black community. I see my time.
You've heard everybody's definition of safety, which is probably the same as Webster. And I would differ a little bit. I mean, Franca actually was the only one who mentioned it, but I would say that safety goes way beyond, getting shot or the police. I think, if you're afraid, if you don't have proper lodging, or if you think, that you're going to be evicted or your rent is going to triple, you're not safe. If you don't have enough to eat, or if you have food insecurity, you're not safe. So I would go back to safety and go back to the very basic, Maslow hierarchy of needs. If you don't have any of the basic needs met, you're not safe. And at this point, the police is the least of your worries. I think it's tough to provide solutions, especially when it comes to public safety, if you don't really understand. And I think that everything you've heard, shows that people have a very narrow focus. And I think, it's tough to talk about safety, public safety, and crime if you don't really understand the whole concept of crime. And if you're not willing to do the work and actually, study. Because things have changed a lot. Crime is no longer the same. The whole definition of safety has changed a lot. It's no longer the same as it was even 5 years ago. So I would say that to feel safe, you need to go back. It's a different conversation than just a conversation of public safety and crime and policing.
Thank you. So it's true, my definition of public safety really doesn't matter. It's your definition of public safety that does. And that is what we need to respond to, which is why Wednesdays through the spring, summer, and fall, I walk with Mothers Standing Against Gun Violence. A week ago, I spoke with a guy who's starting a group called Angry Dads. We are out in the community to find out what it is that they need. I agree that public safety isn't just about policing. It is the groundwater talk that they talk in REI training, that in order to be safe and for the whole body, you've got to look at education, housing, healthcare, policing. There are 6 main buckets, which is why it's important that we work together as a community. It was said earlier that we're not going to police our way out of this. This is true. We need to work with all of the organizations. One of the things when we got our ARP funding that was very important to me and that I've advocated for and others have advocated for is that we invest in our minority community. The people who have been the boots on the ground, who don't normally get funding from a United Way or a Chamber of Commerce or a bank. We have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to invest in our community, to people and nonprofits and businesses that have been doing the work, that could use the help in capacity building, which I think is so important. The topic of written consent came up. Well, what we did pass was informed video consent. It was changed in the directives, and the police have a script that they have to go by now. Personally, I think I would rather see a video to see if somebody was coerced into signing a piece of paper. A piece of paper on itself doesn't really mean a whole lot. In addition to those directives, those videos have to be kept for a minimum of 3 years. So if somebody wants to go back and dispute whether or not they did it willingly, and of course if they've been involved in a crime, then they're saved forever. But informed video consent is what passed.
At this time, we would like to thank all candidates for answering our panel questions. Now we will open it up for closing statements. We do ask that you choose your words wisely because you will have 60 seconds. And we're going to start with Mrs.
I've been very blessed to have been serving Greensboro for over 20 years. And as I told you before, I do believe service is the rent we pay for living on this earth. I've met some great people in every district, every corner of Greensboro. I have shook hands with winos, people who were drunk, and corporate executives. And all of them are God's children, and I'm glad to serve every one of them. I ask for one more time to serve you. Thank you for your attention tonight. I looked at you and you were really listening, and I thank you for that.
I think you all have heard me throughout the evening, and you know a little bit more about me now than you did when it started. I would like to acknowledge Isa Abaswader. Mary Kay Abaswader's husband is here. If you haven't heard, Mary Kay, who is also a candidate currently sitting at large, and the candidate for at-large had some very serious health challenges, and she is not yet up to being in public and with the forums. But
She will be next week.
there you go. She will be next week. So I just want to thank Issa for being here and acknowledge that Mary Kay is on her way to being better, and we're looking forward to having her back with us.
I want to thank you all for putting together this gathering. I was familiar with Vashti, who spent some time at the Hayes Taylor Y, mentoring some youth many years ago. But it's good to see people doing stuff that's important to the community. I'm running in a district that I think needs to be better represented in the spaces and in the rooms at City Council. It's one thing to show up. I think that's part of the job. It's another thing to take calls. I think that's part of the job. But in the space, in the halls, I think you have to be more present with the thoughts of the people that you purport to represent. And I'm here to do that. I desire to be your voice. I appreciate it. Thank you.
And thank you all for coming tonight. Thank you for the questions, to the questioners. Thank you so very much. Again, I actually am not a native of Guilford County, but I've married up. I've married into Guilford County. And I have grown to love it tremendously. And a part of that love is also being, as I mentioned before, about being engaged. I have, or I consider myself to be uniquely prepared to serve and to lead in various aspects. One is my business and finance background of over 20 years. So financial statements and P&Ls and balance sheets don't bother me. I enjoy them actually. I've also been in private business and made a payroll and suffered the forces of market forces of supply and demand. So I know those challenges. I've also served as chair of the Zoning and Planning Commission and also the Board of Adjustment. And with the exponential growth that we're about to go through, is going to be very important from an infrastructure and land use perspective. But then also, what's really near and dear close to my heart is my community engagement. That piece of me, you know, the other pieces of it, I really consider to be my head, but the community engagement is my heart, and really getting in and understanding the needs of the community. I just left today from one organization and delivered a check so that somebody could get a fair and equitable hearing in court. It's those kinds of things. The head and the heart come together for the benefit of Greensboro. I would really appreciate your support for Greensboro City Council at large.
I'm asking for your support because we've come a long ways and there's still work to be done. And I'd like for you to have faith in me because I am a leader, a proven leader. I've been faithful, I have been loyal, and I have the willingness to serve. This job is a job that you have to have, I'd say, almost a calling for, because you listen to the citizens and then you take what you've heard and you try to work with your people on the council to bring about change. And that's what we want. I have a vision for District 2. I know that where there is vision, there can be hope. I'm looking for a safe environment, a place where people have plenty to eat, have good jobs, have transportation. So the acrostic for my name, Wells, I'm willing, and I have done work with excellence, I'm loyal, and I have leadership ability. So, and the S stands for service. So I wish you would consider voting for me to serve so that we can finish the work that we have started together.
First, let me take an opportunity to thank the wonderful Bennett Bills for hosting this and for Common Cause for hosting this. In 67, Dr. King talked about two Americas. Well, today in 2022, we have two Greensboros, the east side and the west side, and they're treated totally different. One Greensboro says that is the only way that we can survive. I remember watching a great movie called Lord, his name escapes me, called Soul Food. And in soul food, the big mother said that when your fingers are spread apart, that it doesn't have that much strength and force. But when you bring those fingers together and you make a fist, you can swing with one mighty blow. One Greensboro is that fist. Imagine when we're hitting every problem with that fist. Imagine when we're tackling every obstacle with that one fist. My candidacy, our administration, would represent a fresh, bold start to tackling problems together. It is time to stop talking. It is time for action. For our children, for our community, and for each other. Vote Mark Cummings for mayor.
So thank you all for having me. So let me say this. I am a community advocate. I'm AAA. I'm available, I'm accessible, and I'm approachable. I'm in this community, and I'm for this community. If you don't show up in your community, then who are you working for? So I show up. Yes, I do. My work is not in a boardroom, but it's in my community. That is who I represent. I don't represent the big guy in the room who's planning something for his benefit. I speak up and advocate for that person who has no voice and doesn't know how to maneuver that process. And I've been doing that for several years, from the young lady who called me this afternoon on my way here, to the young lady who's about to be evicted, to help her find resources to keep her in that house. Those things are what has to be done. They aren't done in the boardroom. They're done in the community. And that's where you have to show up in. That's where people are looking for you in. It's all good to get in a room and make everybody in the room feel comfortable, but if you're not talking real talk, okay, then you haven't accomplished anything. There's racial disparity in this city, and you have to talk that race discussion. It makes people uncomfortable, but you have to be bold enough to say what it is, because if you don't, you are providing a disservice to the constituents that you represent. So when I'm in that room, I'm there for you. Vote Sharon Hightower, District 1. Thank you.
Thank you all for hosting this. This is a great opportunity to talk about a lot of pressing issues. And I just want to thank all the college students here tonight, because you know, I hear a lot how college students are not engaged and they don't vote and they're not involved, and this is proving everybody wrong right here. And I appreciate you all being here. My goal is to bring Greensboro together. I've lived on both sides of the track now, and the interesting thing about Greensboro is we truly are divided by the railroad tracks. We really are, in more ways than one, and that needs to end. We need to stop it, and I want to do everything I can to do that. I do want to make myself available. I get calls right now. I don't know why, but I'm glad. I will be happy to answer anything at any time, day or night, and I want to continue to do that. I believe in transparency. I believe in honesty. I believe in working towards a more equitable and fair Greensboro. So my name is Tracy Furman, and electtracyfurman.com is my website. Thanks.
Oh, sorry. First of all, thank you, Bennett College and Common Cause. This is an opportunity for you, the voters, to hear directly from us, the candidates. I did not decide to run on my own. In fact, I was really hesitant. I'm not even believing that I'm doing this today. But the community members, we have a lot of our Greensboro African Public Action Committee members. They selected me to run for city council. We need representation, we need diversity on city council. We have some of our members here. They chose me as a woman in this community because they believe in me, because I've been able to deliver for them for many years now. I run a nonprofit. I have the leadership skills, I have the ability, the energy, the wisdom, and I'm able to collaborate and work with a diverse group of people, a wide range of people, to get work done, to get solutions that we need to move forward as a community. I'm asking for your vote, not because of them selecting me, but I also have a vested interest to run for city council. I have 3 daughters. One of them is about to enter college. My duty is to make sure that our children have a better and brighter future than the ones that we have. Elect me, vote for me, Frank Ajallo, as your candidate for Greensboro City Council at large. Thank you.
So, we discussed earlier, or I told you earlier, that I am a single mom. I'm also a manager. I've also been a child care worker. I've also been a server, a bartender. I know the kinds of jobs that are available out there. I currently work 50 plus hours a week. I know how hard it is to work that many hours and not make enough money to be able to buy a house or to have problems trying to find affordable housing. I know what it's like to ride the bus 2 hours to get to work across town, because that's where all the good jobs are. I know what it's like to be in a neighborhood where you hear gunshots and you hope that you wake up the next morning and there aren't holes in your home or in your car. These are the things that I want to be able to address from City Council so that when you do graduate, you have a wonderful place in Greensboro to come and live in safely in a way that you can afford. I really think that you all are awesome for sitting here for, 2 hours, I think. You definitely are our future. I'm thoroughly impressed. I probably would not have done this at your age. Yes, Cecily Crawford, District 2, thank you guys very much.
Thank you. First, God bless Yvonne Johnson. I don't think that there's a better soul in this room tonight, and I mean that all sincerely. And she served this city extremely well. You've heard a lot tonight about how everybody is only too eager to serve the citizen, and they're in the room and they're going to do right by us. Well, I'm here to tell you that I'm a citizen, right? And this whole thing is really not that much fun for me, but as a citizen, I can tell you firsthand, I speak at council lately a lot. I've been writing them a lot. I've gotten one answer from Ms. Hightower. Often I get a stare, and thank you very much, and they move on. So as much as we advocate, that they're advocating for us, I beg to differ, which is one of the reasons I'm here. It's because I'm just like you guys, I'm a citizen, and I think that I need to stop because I got the red card. So.
Good evening, and thank you to the organizers, and thank you to those in attendance. I've been mayor since 2013. As I said before, we've been through a lot, and we have really turned the corner. So I don't want to talk about me right now. I want to talk about some important issues that are going to be on the bond. When you go to vote May 17th, it's going to be a really, really long list because it's going to be senators, the legislatures, judges, sheriffs, clerk of courts, county commissioners, city council, and when you get to the very bottom, it'll be the school bonds. If we really want to put our money where our mouths are, we need to vote for these school bonds so that we have good facilities across our entire county, and make sure you vote for the quarter-cent sales tax that will help pay for those bonds. And then on July 26th, when it is the Greensboro City Council election, that ballot's going to be a lot shorter. But there are going to be some very important initiatives on it. One is in affordable housing. We've all talked about how important affordable housing is. We have a 10-year plan. We need you to vote for the bonds so we can implement the 10-year plan. We've got great projects in Parks and Recreation, primarily in East Greensboro. And we've got public safety and transportation on the bonds as well. Please vote.
Thank you to our candidates. If we can, please give them a round of applause. We do want to recognize Bennett College and Common Cause for sponsoring this event. And thank you again to our audience for being here tonight. We hope that this event inspired you and helps you understand how powerful your voice is in this year's elections. Thank you all again for coming, and we hope you have an amazing night.